Today, I want to talk about the Wuthering Waves dev interview and talk about what I think is really important for other devs to really just take notes on when it comes to effectively communicating with your communities, because I think Hero Games knocked it out of the park. So if you guys have been living under a rock, just the other day, Hero Games did a dev interview for Wuthering Waves where they had a nice little dynamic. I personally really like this. They had two creators, Sandfish and Rexcellent, kind of hounding the developer here, which was Dong, and just gave a back and forth of like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? What kind of expectations can we have going into CBT2? And I really felt like they held no punches, bro. Like, obviously they're cordial, they were super nice to each other. They had to ask the hard-hitting questions, and Dog did not waver, dude. He did not try to beat around the bush. He didn't try to hide behind something. He took everything to like the face, like he just pretty much got punched in the face, and he's like, hey, all right, cool, let's do it and break it down. So he went over a lot of the different feedback, which 20 minutes to do all this different stuff was insane. There was not a moment where I felt like they were trying to fill something or just kind of putting something in there for the sake of it being longer or something like that. They were literally like, here's the combat, here's the story, here's the environment, here's new characters, here's like they were just in succession giving us new information based on feedback. And the fact that they scrapped like 90% of their overall story, and that includes like animations, voice acting that they had. Of course, it wasn't all voice acted, but a lot of it was voice acted. The animations they had, you know, the storyboards, the writing, like that obviously takes a lot of money, and they're willing to scrap it based on feedback that they got from the first CBT, saying it was lackluster, not very great, the story needed improvement. And they took that and they're like, okay, you know what, you're right. And they rewrote a lot of that, about 90%, he said. And I think that in itself is just a huge like kind of kudos to Hero Games, because it's like it takes a lot of guts to do that, especially when you don't have like trillions of millions of billions of dollars to just kind of throw at the wall and hope that something sticks, because they have to make sure that Wuthering Waves, when it comes out, it sticks, right? So they obviously care very much about the experience that the player is going to have. And Dong even apologized for giving people a bad experience during CBT1, which to me was insane. It made me feel kind of bad, because I was like, it's a CBT1, you have expectation that the story is going to be like, you know, not fully written, some of the stuff's not going to really flow well, and then you have the combat, and it's obviously going to have the bare bones kind of foundation, which I honestly think Wuthering Waves CBT1 had really good foundation. But the fact that they're improving on it, obviously you'd like that, you know, just to improve on a better thing. But the fact that he was like, yo, I'm sorry that it sucked, and it's like, it didn't suck, you know, there's things that needed to be improved, but everybody has that kind of feedback whenever CBT1 comes into CBT2. There's stuff that always needs to change, and that's how we get better as a game. But he took responsibility, which is so like honorable to me, and it's such a humble thing to watch him kind of go through this and be open, because not a lot of developers are willing to say, here's where we screwed up, here's the changes we're making, here's the outlines, here's the most important stuff that we took from the feedback and why we think it's important, and more or less just be kind of like, hey, we really want you guys to have a good experience. Having this Q&A between developers and creators just gives us as a community a voice to speak out on, and it really does feel like they're listening. They have done pretty much a 180. If you don't know Hero Games, in the first place, they did PGR Global and PGR CN, obviously, but CN was always kind of like the baby, right? It was always treated really well, had the nice PVs, and then Global kind of came out that had lackluster marketing. I was there day one. I covered it pretty extensively on day one in about 6 to 7 months, and then I kind of gave up because of the marketing. I was tired of like not having any marketing. I was tired of kind of like the schedule, because I had to follow CN's schedule to a T, which means we got the same exact PVs that CN did, kind of just like over and over again. They weren't starting to do like the English dub over stuff until like later, and it really started to knock it out of the park now into like the golden era of Global is what I would say for PGR, where they're just doing a lot of cool things. They're really making it its own thing, and they're really marketing it in a way that makes sense for PGR. So they've done a 180 basically on the marketing and how they're interacting with fans and communities, and I really think that's such an admirable thing to see in a developer, to take some feedback and not be so reluctant and just kind of ignore it, because there's a lot of devs that could just be like, my game, I already put resources into it, you'll play it or you won't. And that's how I feel like a lot of developers are, and they don't really care about based on feedback. They either want a quick buck, or they're just kind of like, we already spent all this money and that's just how it's going to be, suck it up or don't play my game. So it's definitely a breath of fresh air to see Hero Games come in here and just take all the blows and punches right in front of us and let us know exactly what they're changing, get us super excited about the game again right before CBT2. They obviously know what they're doing. They hit 1 million views in 8 hours, I think it was, on YouTube, 1.3 in 8 hours on Billy, and I don't even know, I think it's over 3 billion or 3 million on YouTube up to date, and then Billy, I don't know where they're at, maybe 3 mil as well. So you can tell that they're obviously marketing the game very, very well. They're communicating, they're giving us chances to do different stuff, and I honestly think that the Wuthering Waves has a good formula and a good attitude to be one of the next best games in the gacha market. They are going to disrupt this market just because of the way that they're being as a developer and the fact that they have such a really good product. In my opinion, I think Wuthering Waves is the most promising game that we've seen in a very, very long time, and I'm not going to call it like a killer of any other game. I think it's going to go up there and it's going to compete, but I don't think it's going to kill nothing. I don't understand that mindset, because it's like, you want games to compete. You want things to stand next to each other, so then they have to get better. If one kills the other and then it becomes a new monopoly, well, then that other one is just going to take over and start dishing out shit and then nobody's going to matter. You want them to come in, butt heads a bunch, and then everybody wins. Everybody in every community wins. The Genshin people win. We win as Wuthering Waves fans, and so on and so forth, because now they have to compete. They have to keep people's attentions, and now they have to do things in a way that makes everybody happy. So I just think it's going to be one of those games that finally is able to go up there and at least fight a little bit and kind of hang out. So I just think it has so much promise on the fact that the developers are taking this so seriously, and I can't wait to see what happens in CBT too. So hopefully we're able to get in there. But if you guys enjoy the content, want to see more Wuthering Waves, make sure to subscribe, or we'll have discussions like this and obviously play the CBT 2 when it comes out, and the game as well when it comes out, going over characters, all the different stuff. And I will see you there. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.